If you're watching this video and you have less than 5,000 euros in your account, get ready to feel bad. Because what I'm about to show you is exactly what you've been told doesn't exist. A bot that takes 1,000 euros and turns them into 16,000 euros? No discretion, no magic, just applied mathematics. And no, this isn't a demo. It's not the usual hype from the latest fake guru. It's a martingale, and it's devastating. Welcome everyone, I'm Andrea, your automated trader, and if you like what I do, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date and not miss the next videos I'll be posting. What you're about to see is one of the deadliest experts I've ever created. It's not polite, it's not politically correct, and it's not for the faint of heart. It's an expert advisor for the euro-dollar pair. It works on an M15 time frame in mean reversion. In other words, it trades against the trend. To put it simply, it buys when the market is too low, sells when the market is too high, and if it gets it wrong, it doubles down. And that's exactly what makes it deadly, because martingale is a bit like having a Lamborghini without brakes. Either it takes you to 300 kilometers an hour or you crash, but if you know what you're doing, no one can catch you. Here we are on MetaTrader. Let's open the tester and see what this expert has done from 2021 up to today. These are the settings you see here. We're running it on every tick based on real ticks to be more precise. All right, let's start the backtest. Okay, now let's see what came out of this backtest. We started here with 1,000 euros and ended up with 16,000 euros. Guys, we're not talking about making 5% a month here. These are insane numbers. We've made a profit of 1,500% over this period. Every fluctuation of the euro-dollar is squeezed like a lemon. Every retracement is fuel for our system. This isn't trading, it's extracting money from the market. Now listen to me carefully. Let's say you don't have 1,000 euros to run this program. No problem. You can put in 100 euros. Look here. These are the settings changed. They're fine for 100 euros, which is basically a minimum capital. Let's set this. Let's put 100 euros instead of 1,000 euros. And let's run the test. Let's see what happens. Test finished. Let's take a look. We went from an initial 100 euros to 1,700 euros. At the end, still a return of over 1,500%. Incredible, guys. This isn't luck, it's mathematical proportion. Change the size, change the scale, and the expert works the same way. Now, if you want to have this expert advisor, you just need to do two very simple things. First, subscribe to the channel, and second, write "I want it" in the comments. When we reach 100 people who write in the comments that they want it, I'll put the download file in the pinned comment. Hurry up, because the sooner we reach 100, the sooner you'll get the file. Now I'll show you the code behind this expert advisor. Incredible. Here we are. Let's take a look at the code. Let's say the code is quite similar to that of the other martingale expert, because I started from that as a base to create this one. And I used an idea that I use on the euro-dollar pair in another one of my experts, but a bit more simplified. But the basic idea is to say, when the price is a certain percentage away from the average, I enter counter trend. Then in the other expert, I use targets and stops. I use filters. It's a very, very complicated thing. Here, I just took the basic idea as the entry trigger. Let's take a look. I've grouped the parameters into a few groups. So there is the first primary group, which contains the martingale settings. Within this group, we have the crucial grid points, the initial lot size for the very first trade, the specific multiplier value, and the precise targeting points. In the second part, I added the data related to the average. So now I'll go a bit faster, since you all have. The other previous videos explain how to insert the average, how the average is used in the code, how to set the parameters, call them variables. So here I'll go a bit quicker. Here, in this block, you have all the settings for the average, plus the percentage distance that the price must have from the average to make the first trade, which is this one here, minima gap. In the last group, we then have the magic number, which as usual we set, and the NDL%. Using the average. On it, there are only two things, because we have the end of the average where we save the values of the average. And in this line, we set our magic number. Here I set the magic number. I also set it in the program. So as it's written now, you can use it together with others as well. Expert advisor. Even though I don't recommend it, because with martingale, it's always best to have an account with only one expert advisor. That way, if something happens, you don't blow up. Accounts where you might also have profits from other experts. Let's move on. In the init, we have nothing on tick. We have the entire expert here. So, compared to the previous version, we've added these two lines. What are they? The first is the array where the moving average values are saved, which I called MA1. And the second is the copy buffer, which is used to save the values into this array. Then I save the close of the last candle on the time frame I'm using. Here I have all the variables, just like in the previous expert, except for the bid, which is the price value I need. Then, to enter a position, I have the comment, which at the moment I'm not using. And as I mentioned last time, you can use comments to see, while running visual tests, the values your variables have. However, I recommend that you then comment them out so they are not executed, because this makes the expert run faster. Then we have this whole section here, this block that's used to calculate the price and the lots of all the positions. So the average of all the positions we have in the market. As you can see, as I mentioned, here I added the part that checks the magic number, so it only considers the positions opened by this expert. The same goes for the sell positions. This part here, this is the part that performs the check. On the magic number, in fact, we take the magic of the position with position get integer and compare it with the magic we set at the beginning. Hours. Here, as always, I calculate the average prices. Every time I open a position, I add it. If you want more details, you can find everything in the previous video. And this instead is the target closure, just like before, because we haven't changed anything. So we have our function that at the end of the program closes if true or false, because we pass it two values. So we first close the buys, and here nothing for the sells, and here we close the sells because we have true as the second value and false for the first, which represents the buys. Here instead is the part where I made the most changes to the code. Because in the position entry, in this if statement, initially we had other conditions because there was a different entry method. Today instead, we need to check that the close is less, as I mentioned, than the average minus the average times this percentage distance that we wanted to have. Once this is satisfied, the first buy is made. The next part is this, which is the martingale part. It always stays the same. So after making the first one, every multiple of the grid, you go on to double, triple, according to the multiplier. Our trade. Same thing for the sell, so I enter a sell position. With the first position, I need to check to close above the value of the average plus my percentage. And then I make the first sell trade. From there, the martingale starts and averages as the price moves against us. This is how the positions are closed. As I explained to you last time, the only difference is that I also added here the part related to the magic, so it no longer closes. It no longer considers all the positions it finds in MetaTrader, but only those with our magic number. It's very simple. This expert isn't long because, as you can see, we have 170 lines of code, so it's something very compact and it seems to work quite well. And so this is the code, make use of it. Enjoy using it, make your own modifications. Try other parameters, maybe change the entry methodology, do whatever you want with it. Let me also give you a piece of advice. It's important that you copy the code and create the expert advisor yourself. I know it's tedious, it takes time, but by doing this, you'll understand the logic and the steps needed to create an expert. And as you go on, if you do this every time there's a chance to copy the code in the videos, you'll learn how to program, and you'll reach a point where you'll be able to program on your own expert advisors independently. This is more or less the path I took myself. At first, it's difficult because you don't know what that line of code is doing compared to another. But in the end, you learn the code, you learn what those symbols mean, those strings you write. And you'll be able to code all the strategies that come to mind or that you see on YouTube or elsewhere. So you'll reach a point where you're able to create all the expert advisors you want. You can run your own tests and do whatever comes to mind. Now let's talk seriously, like real traders. This is a martingale expert advisor. It's dangerous. It could blow up. What I showed you is a trajectory that worked over a fairly long period. But there's no guarantee it will keep working this way, maybe even as soon as tomorrow. The euro dollar could have such a violent move that it wipes out your account. So look for your own parameters, maybe use a wider grid, reduce your profits, reduce your drawdowns, and make your own assessments of risk and return. In short, you need to find the parameters that seem most suitable for the type of trading you want to do. Another fundamental piece of advice is to use this expert in demo mode to get to know it well and find the right settings. And then if you want, once you have analyzed the whole system, you can try it live, but not necessarily with the settings I provided. In fact, it's important for everyone to find their own settings. This is just a starting point for you to begin thinking from. I've given you a general idea. You can develop it however you think is best. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more experts like this, and if you have any particular entry logic, write it in the comments. And maybe in the next video, I'll code what you've asked me to. A breakout, an RSI, the London session, or maybe news events. I don't know, you tell me. Whatever could be an interesting entry trigger, and we'll see how to code it.